Hey, this is Chris with Chris's Comments. Kind of a different atmo, kind of a different look right now, so I do apologize for that. Long story short, car broke down, waiting for the parts, been off of work for a good while, and it shows. Haven't shaved, haven't done anything, haven't dressed my hair. Usually it's slicked back. Here's the thing though, I have got quite a bit to talk about during the entire week that I was out of work and no place to do a podcast posting. This is concerning the gas prices. There's a lot that's been going on, but I want to stick to the money for right now. The money and how it's going to be detrimental come the upcoming elections. One of these titles: U.S. gas prices will likely rise after the OPEC plus snub to Biden, but not for drivers in 3 states. I don't know which states there because the article actually discusses 3 regions of the United States, not necessarily the 3 states itself. And here we go. The U.S. fuel market already suffers from maintenance outages at key regional refinery hubs and increasing gas demand contributing to the rise in U.S. gas prices. OPEC plus production cut will limit the amount that prices will drop. Prices below $3 per gallon will disappear as a result. Only some relief to rising U.S. gas prices will be felt as refinery issues are resolved. The OPEC decision to cut oil production will cause gas prices to go up in the East Coast, South, Northwest, and the Rockies regions for now. An expert says West Coast, Great Lakes, Plains will see prices drops as refinery issues are addressed. U.S. refinery issues the West Coast have crunched the region's supply as roughly 6 refineries undergo maintenance or experience outages. But weakness in the refinery industry is nothing new, highlighting unprecedented bottlenecks at refineries where crude oil is converted into gas. That's largely due to the impact of the coronavirus pandemic and the inability to refineries to cope with a rebound in demand for gasoline as lockdown restrictions ease. Recession fears could impact crude demand, meaning prices may not see large increases. The fall and winter driving seasons means gas demand usually dips, supporting a price drop in weeks ahead. Okay. I would like to get to the key words that caught my attention. 6 refineries undergo maintenance or experience outages. Okay. 6 refineries that release 801,000 barrels per day, plus 5 more, which leads to 408,100 barrels per day. Okay, those 6 refineries, as discussed as far back as June 21st, 2022, when I did a segment called Chevron CEO urges Biden to stop criticizing big oil and take a new approach. Okay, those refineries were what I'm talking about, what they're talking about right here as well. 6 of them in particular. Okay, and this is going to be important as I go to the next article. And I do apologize for skimming through all of this really, really fast, but there is an important reason to it. All of this is germane to the entire case. Okay, here I go. I'm going to zip through it, but I'm going to bring out the things to point, just like the first article. U.S. gas prices will likely rise. Yeah. Prices like California could also see signs easing as the state governor, Gavin Newsom, relaxes rules to allow oil refineries to start to sell more polluting winter blend gas. Okay, to that effect, some U.S. states could dodge the impact of the OPEC 3 production cut. The OPEC plus, not 3, but plus, the OPEC plus measure to reduce production by 2 million barrels per day is in a bid to send crude prices higher ramped up the pressure on U.S. President Biden. Okay, the White House accused OPEC 3 of aligning with Russia, as tightening supply should drive crude prices higher and in turn raise gas prices. The White House watches gas prices move closely ahead of fiercely contested midterms only a few weeks away in November 8th. Another important thing to remember, Biden has made the focus of his administration and has called on oil companies to cut prices also, while exploring gas export bans and relaxing sanctions on Venezuela so Chevron can pump more oil there. Now, if you remember, I said Chevron's CEO urges Biden to stop criticizing the big oil and all this other crap. They want a break. They want permits on federal land. They want permits in critical infrastructure. They want to raise costs and benefits and all this other crap. But mostly they wanted the Keystone Pipeline reopened. Biden didn't reopen the pipeline. But get this, he relaxed sanctions on Venezuela. Venezuela, that pretty much like in the Middle East, workers go through harsh processes. If they go through dangerous processes in pulling out the oil or refining it to gas. And if they're injured and killed, that's it. There's no help for them and whatever. They're going through a lot of harsh labor demands, and they're getting paid chump change. And it's dangerous and actually life-taking in Venezuela, no differently than in Saudi Arabia. Carry on. The U.S. gas, but here again, Biden eased up on sanctions, on relaxed sanctions on Venezuela. Okay, there should be no excuses that we shouldn't be seeing these gas prices likely to rise if Biden is already relaxing sanctions on at least one good country here, on one country that can supply tons of, in point of fact, 800,000, along with 5 extra refineries, the 6 main refineries, along with 5 extra, which provide 400,000 barrels per day. Okay, there should be no excuse. No excuse. Carrying on, the U.S. gas prices are primed to keep climbing after OPEC Plus slashed output. Although the experts say we're going to see many sub $3 per gallon gas prices disappear in the weeks ahead, primarily thanks to OPEC's decision to cut the oil production, which makes sense. They're cutting it. They're claiming that there's a lot of crap and stuff. It costs a lot. It costs too much. We need all these other drills. Let me point out something before I go to the next article, okay? Okay. These guys, the first quarter of this year alone, the oil companies of this year alone, the first quarter was $40 billion. The second quarter of this year, we're here now into the fourth and final quarter out of the year, but out of the second, I don't know what they made the third quarter. That hasn't come up yet, or I just haven't been looking yet. Again, my car broke down. I've been too busy trying to fix it. The second quarter of this year, 60 billion. So that's another 40 billion plus 20 billion on top. Just again, off of this year, the first half is $100 billion out of that. And that's after the pandemic. They closed down the refineries during the pandemic. Okay? They closed down the refineries during the pandemic as far back as 2020. This is 2022 now. Okay? They've raked in 40 billion, and then during the gas gouging prices, they made another 60 bill. So how much crying are we to actually accept? How much of this crap are we supposed to, how much of this demand that the president bow down to their needs are we supposed to be happy about? How much of this price gouging? Open up relax the regulations, or we're going to be raising the prices. How much of that are we supposed to actually be tolerating? Moving on. NOPEC, a bipartisan legislation, has passed a Senate panel in May, as far back as May, when these price gouges and stuff was still looking pretty bad. that allowed the U.S. to sue nations, OPEC plus nations, for price fixing. Okay? To put pressure on Saudi Arabia, for example, in particular, members of Congress, including Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and the Republican Senator Chuck Grassley, want to revive legislation called NOPEC, the No Oil Producing and Exporting Cartels Act. Okay, it's cute and everything. Here's what an expert, a senior from the Atlantic Council, Ellen Ward, brace yourself, it's a lot of spitting. The issue that we're talking about for American consumers is that these countries could retaliate against American interest. Whoa, there's the spooky. We could see reduction in global oil supply as a result. That's only common sense. Speculation from 300 million barrels a day to only 600,000 barrels per day. Okay, now that's speculation, but so far nothing's proving her wrong. The expert that's telling you we can't do this kind of crap with Saudi and Russia anymore. But in this case, Saudi Arabia. Another speculative comment that she said, it could lead us to difficult issues, particularly for Americans in Saudi Arabia, but Saudis also do business in the U.S. Aramco, the largest refinery in the U.S., and Movida, the refinery in Texas. Of course, my home state. Wald continues on NOPEC suing other countries. I don't think it'll help the gas pump at all. We're seeing a lot of issues that are somewhat related to OPEC, but not entirely related. Okay, first, the whole Saudis also do business in the U.S. Aramco and Motiva. Okay, part of the problem with industry, laziness and stubbornness? Possibly. That's what I'm saying. It's something that I've been claiming this entire time. They don't want to work. They just want the tax-paying dollars to come to them, and then they'll send more oil to be gassed and refined into gas, and then it takes it easier on us on the pump. But does it really? Does it really? Because we went over to Saudi Arabia before. We annihilated Hussein, and those gas prices never went lower than $2, you know. So is it really that we should be bowing down to these industries, especially since we've got two of them right here in the U.S. Aramco, that's on U.S. soil, you know. Movita, which is also in Texas. I mean, do we really need to bow down to these people? Also, somewhat related to OPEC, but let's be perfectly clear. With Aramco and Movita, the largest refinery in the U.S., Movita, one of the large refinery in Texas, you know, somewhat related. No, it's entirely related. It's entirely related. Because nobody's telling Aramco and Movita to stop production and cut production. We need that oil. We need that oil, especially to be refined. Nobody's really telling these guys to cut the production. So yeah, it's good that our government is suing them, particularly around here, around Aramco and Movita, foreign country owned oil plants that are you know, jacking with us, that are trying to jack us up. They're punking us, you know. So it's good that the Senate is on its way to doing that. It's from as far back as May, so it's obviously a slow process anyway. May of this year. Moving on to the final article, which is going to be finally ending with a summary. OPEC to cut oil production by 2 million barrels per day to shore up prices, defying U.S. pressure. Okay, this is the most recent article, and here we go. OPEC and non-OPEC allies, a group often reflected to as OPEC Plus, decided to reduce production by 2 million barrels per day from November. The production cut for November is an attempt to reverse this slide, despite repeating pressure from the U.S. President Joe Biden's administration for the group to pump more to lower fuel prices ahead of midterm elections next month. So it's a power play, and it's trying to influence everybody this coming election. And I'll get to that. I'll get to that because it's just so obvious. Let me move on. OPEC Plus will hold its next meeting on December 4th. Okay, continuing. The White House said in a statement that Biden was disappointed by the short-sighted decision by OPEC Plus to cut production quotas while the global economy is dealing with the continued negative impact of Putin's invasion of Ukraine. It said that Biden has directed the Department of Energy to release another 10 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve next month. Okay, so he's going to be compensating for this 2 million barrels per day for November. Now keep in mind, it's not 10 million barrels per day, it's just plain 10 million barrels. So we're not going to be seeing that inflation risk yet, even though we might not actually be looking at the lower prices that we've seen when it went under $3, at least over here in Central Texas, in San Antonio. Nationally, we saw a real good low end, and I don't remember what each state was, but there was a considerable drop in prices, and we might see them to where they're not skyrocketing, but they're not going to go back down to that very low drop that we saw earlier this year. Again, because it's only 10 million barrels, not necessarily 2 million barrels per day, like the way OPEC is cutting. OPEC is not giving us 2 million barrels per day throughout November. So somehow we got to make 10 million barrels alone stretch throughout November. And I think it's possible. Otherwise, he wouldn't make the play. He probably would have gone drastic measures and released a whole lot more. Okay, the meeting discussions. The White House says the Biden admin will consult with Congress on additional tools and authorize to reduce OPEC's control over energy prices. This more than likely is going to be a meeting discussions, including the Aramco and Movida, if those two companies cooperate with us and even show. But more than likely, they're going to have sent some kind of representative that's going to stall for time and all this other stuff while we suffer the prices. The statement added to the OPEC Plus announcement served as a reminder as why it is so crucial that the U.S. reduce its reliance on foreign sources of fossil fuels. And I got to agree with that. We did trade business with these countries in good faith. They're jerking us around. So, yeah, we really need to find a way to reduce the reliance of foreign sources. Just simply because of the fact that, just because of this crap that's going on here. Speaking at a news conference, OPEC Secretary General, pardon me for not pronouncing this correctly, Haytham Al-Ghais, defended the group's decision to impose a deep output cut, saying OPEC Plus was seeking to provide security and stability to the energy markets. Okay, that's the reason. They need to be secured and stable, even though we're not giving them problems. But that's what they're saying. When asked whether the alliance was doing the right thing at a price, Al-Ghais replied, "Everything has a price. Energy security has a price as well." Fine. That's his beef. That's the company's beef. That's fine. Here's the summary, though. Here's what it's coming up to. We're getting closer and closer to that showdown that I was discussing earlier in one of my earlier posts. Are we going to stick with Biden, or are we going to cower down to the industrial companies? And what I mean by cower down, I mean bend over. Are we going to tough this out, or are we going to be bending over to the powers that be? It's a reasonable question. It's a very understandable question. You know, they want Keystone to be reopened, the industry, for the fuel and oil industry. Keystone, it costed $8 billion to build. $70 million out of state and local taxes came out of that. $55.6 million in property taxes. $3.4 billion per year profit. Only 35 permanent jobs created. 35, that's it. For the record, Keystone Pipeline starts in Alaska, cuts through Canada, comes down into the U.S., branches out to Illinois, and finishes down in Texas. Only 35 people are in charge of that. There's only 35. It only supplies 35 jobs. That's it. And again, this is something that produces, that transports 600,000 barrels per day, while we lose a third of that, 300,000, due to cracks, leaks, breakages, if not actual separations of the pipeline, because it's anchored to the ground. The earth shifts, there goes the pipeline. It's busted, it's cracked, it's leaking, it's completely severed. Okay, it's a failure, this pipeline. But that's what the oil and fuel industries want. This pipeline, and it refines the 6 refineries that were closed during the pandemic. And it refined 800,000 barrels per day. That's how well those 6 refineries are good. Plus 5 loose, which totaled up to 400,000 barrels per day. It refines the oil to gas. And they're still closed. Oh, don't get me wrong. According to the article, which 3 states won't feel any kind of an impact. 3 states are undergoing maintenance and experiencing outages, trying to overcome the outages, according to what OPEC Plus is telling us. Okay, and for the record, those 6 refineries laid off 160,000 out of 300,000 jobs just in 2020 alone. Okay, and they haven't been paying them up. They do that actually annually, and it's because drilling is a project job. So they keep the employees that deliver all the equipment and drilling equipment to each drilling station. They hire a bunch of people, and then they let them go as soon as the drilling produces some kind of result. They go to another drill site where they rehire some people again. Instead of keeping the people that already have experience, they rehire some people again, and they use them to drill the oil at the site that the drills are. Why? That goes back to cost efficiency. That goes back to profit off of turnover rates, off of turnovers. Companies make big money off of employees that they get to keep with as little to less time, because it's only a certain amount of money that's invested for new hires, and the rest of the investment that's built up to after a certain probational period, which officially makes them official employees. Instead of putting that money into that official employee, which could result to a pay raise or a promotion with the pay raise, or some kind of benefits, medical, stock options. Okay, all of that requires invested money that the company gets to keep. Should they find a way to release the employee, whether it be through a contractual agreement or through quiet firing, which is making it so horrible for the employees that they feel the need to quit. Okay, all that is profit. And for the record, I saw a news guy, I'm not going to say his name, you know who you are. Every newscaster out there that's researching quiet quitting does not understand that that's produced out of quiet firing. So when they say the next time you think about quiet quitting, just think about kind of an impact that it might actually get you fired and to where you have to look for another job. Here's the thing. Quiet quitting is derived out of quiet firing. Quiet quitting is what you do to look for another job. You're doing your results, while reworking your portfolio or reworking your resume, okay, in order to look for another job. That's what quiet quitting and quiet firing is. Everybody that thinks there's a bad result to quiet quitting is just a moron. And I'm not going to say your name because I actually like that newscaster's reports. Normally, he knows what he's talking about. But unfortunately, when the subject came up to quiet quitting and quiet firing, he just said the same babbling bullcrap of somebody that's looking at the word quitting and looking at the word firing and says that it sees nothing but negativity out of it, as opposed to it not being about negative or positive. It's just about being what it is. So, yeah, and those rules are not exempt in the gas and oil industry. Drillers are hired and released like clockwork. They're hired only temporarily until they're told the project is done and they're out. And then until the next project comes up, when the next project comes up, employees are hired. Whether they're rehired or newly hired, it doesn't matter. It's only a certain amount of money that's going to go invested into that employee before they officially become an employee. But that's not going to happen because, again, oil work is project work. Okay? It's no different than the telecommunications and electrical jobs that I used to do before my leg injury. I stumbled out some stairs, blew out my knee. But yeah, that's the thing. Are we going to tolerate this babbling bull crap about companies saying, no, we want what we want, and you pay for it, or the taxpayer pays for it, or you get nothing at all, or the customer tolerates our price gouges, or you get nothing at all? Foreign companies, no, you're going to buy our oil no matter who I kill in my country, or you're getting nothing at all. And Venezuela, I really, 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 really wish Biden hadn't eased relaxed the sanctions, relaxed the restrictions on Venezuela. Venezuela, Argentina, all of those companies, all of those countries here in the Americas have been doing nothing but saying, no, you're going to take whatever refugee we throw at you, whatever refugee we run out of our country, and you're going to buy our oil, or you're going to get nothing at all. That's what Venezuela's been saying. That's what Argentina told us. That's what every country in South America all the way up to Central America has told us. Take our crap, take our trash, and buy our oil, or no deal. So I really, really wish the president had not bowed down that much, that little, to CEO of Chevron, or the Chevron company. I really, really wish Biden hadn't bowed down to them, to this company, because it's coming down this electoral season, this midterm especially. Whoever's on the side of Biden, he's got no choice but to keep toughing this out. And it's very imperative that we keep voting for people that will tough this out with Biden, just simply because, if we don't, we're bending over. We're bending over to the corporations, to the foreign companies, and their crap. Okay? And we're doing it at our expense. At best, we can ask them to use the lube, so to say, in not price gouging us again. But once we once we vote in people who are against Biden, there's really nothing that's going to stop the gas companies from doing that. Price gouging. Not so much using the lube. Price gouging. Okay? So that's why this is the entitled Tough It Out or Bend Over. That's what the title is going to be. When you see it, Tough It Out, question mark, or Bend Over, exclamation mark. When you press on it, that's technically what this is talking about. So, yeah, that's the spiel there. I do apologize that it took 30 minutes. Or, move it on to 33, 35. Yeah, that's the spiel there. Tough it out or bend over. And that's what's going on somewhere down the line. And I really wish I should have probably told you this right from the beginning, but my appearance is what I wanted to tackle first. Normally I'm clean shaven and my hair is pushed back and all this good stuff. It's gelled back, and I'm doing this from a car, on my lunch break just before going back to work. But I'm not going to work just simply because I got to wait for a shipment to come in of an auto part. I've just been relaxing. Haven't looked at a razor. Haven't looked at a brush. Well, I've looked at. I got a hair comb, but it's not really holding together. And that's my spiel there. I hope you guys are doing okay. I'm looking at a lot of subjects out there, and I'm thinking about hitting them, but for right now, I'm just focused on getting back together and tending to duties here. I've been doing a lot of house cleaning, yard work, a lot of stuff like that. I'm wearing my old painting shirt, my house painter shirt. I'm not going to paint, but I've been using this for the lawn landscaping stuff. Just being a typical grounded guy while waiting for my part. I hope everybody out there is safe and is keeping on. I'm going to do a couple of shout outs. Dollamore and his wife, Brittany Page. Good luck. I hope the transition works best for you guys. BTC, you keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. Bo, the fifth column, Fair and Balanced, TYT. Hope y'all are doing. Hope y'all just keep on pushing. You guys are tackling a whole lot more subjects than what this amateur podcaster is doing. I'm doing this from, and again, the only reason why I'm doing it is because it's here in Central Texas, where nobody but hate mongers are doing their thing. So I'm the monkey to the wrench. I'm the oi out of the ointment. Everybody over here is pretty much monolithic rhetoric, Republican rhetoric, and I'm the only one here that's still getting, I'm getting emails, but I'm getting, you're what's wrong with Texas today, you're what's wrong with America today, you're what's wrong with the world today, you're what's wrong with the galaxy today, the solar system, I don't know, it doesn't matter. I'm just, I'm being scolded, I'm getting the fingers shook at me. But I'm not going to stop voicing my opinion, and I'm not going to stop encouraging everybody on the other side of this screen to voice their opinion, and give props to everybody left and right who's actually seeing things on the same page. I'm not on the same page with everybody because I am so far behind. I'm working while doing this part-time. So try not to, get too concerned over the fact that I'm not saying the same thing. Just understand that we're all on the same side. We're all in together. We are in it together, hand in hand, on our way to a better place. But we got to tough this out, because I'm not bending over. Y'all take care. Y'all take it easy. This is Chris with Chris's Comments, signing out.